Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have a book review of the book The Edge of Balance Precedent, written by Daniel Jose Older with a script and art by Tomio Ogata. This is the third Edge of Balance manga we've gotten for the High Republic. We had Edge of Balance 1, which had Shima Sinya and Justina Ireland working on it. And then we had number 2, which had Shima Sinya and Daniel Jose Older working on it. Both of these had artwork by Mizuki Shakakibara. Shakakibara? Yeah. Anyway, so I've reviewed both of these on the channel and have videos for them. And my basic thoughts on these were, it was well done, the story was interesting, but not worth the price point. And while I still think that they should have reduced the price point on this significantly, at least it should be, at most it should be $9.99. I can justify that $15, $16 for this is a little bit much to get mass audiences into it. Really, for the amount of content you're getting with this, it should be $3 to $5. But I understand there's printing costs and stuff. But this is a still quick read. I think it's the longest of the three. But this book, I think it's the most complex, and it has the best overall story of the three that we've gotten so far. So, some of the things about this one, it is basically a flashback story. It starts at the beginning where, or it starts right where these two books leave off, and it's carrying those on, and even has some major characters from the High Republic showing up, specifically major villains. And then they basically they find something in the rubble on Branchy, which is the planet. I think it's the name of the planet that you're on in these. And they say, and they find something in the rubble. And then they go flashback to the era of the High Republic that Phase 2 was in. And then there's a story from Phase 2 featuring Jedi Knight Arkoff. And then you also have a few other characters. You have the droid ZZ-10 and Master Revna, and then Aislinn Rel. Those are the Jedi and heroic characters that we're following. And then there is this villain named Vol Garot, who is actually the alien that you see in the Cat and Mouse episode of the Clone Wars. And at the moment, I am blanking on his the name of his species, and I know it's said very early on in the book. Harch, that's it. And he is a bounty hunter who is employed first by the the flashback sequences. He's employed by the Path of the Open Hand, and later on he's employed with the Nile, and he is the villain of these books, and as a villain, he works quite well. He's very menacing. He's a little bit cartoonish, which kind of works, since this is a kind of like a cartoon. It's a manga, but it's kind of cartoonish. So that actually works really well, how wacky he is. And part of the theme of his character is they just can't get rid of him. They keep beating him and stuff, and they just can't get rid of him. And he just keeps coming back. And that's kind of what's kind of funny, because the character of the Admiral in Cat and Mouse, he just keeps coming back in the Clone Wars, and you're like, we can't get rid of this guy. So I liked him. When it comes to the heroes, the main character, Arkoff, was the least interesting, just because as a Wookiee, they don't give him much personalization. The Jedi Master Revna, she was interesting when she was present, and Aislinn Rel goes through a ton of stuff in this book. But he was still pretty interesting. But the most interesting character, to my surprise, was the droid ZZ-10. That droid has now become a top 5 favorite High Republic character for me, just because this droid, despite having so little page time, this droid isn't in anything else in the High Republic, it's only in this. Despite its so little page time, it is incredibly loyal and good, and trying to help out and trying to be dedicated to its Jedi Master, and fulfilling its goals and working with the other Jedi to do good. And it's it's just delightful to read about that droid. So that droid was the best part of this book. The story is more complex than the other ones, which I appreciated, and it ties into both eras. But one thing that Phase 2 didn't do well enough was make you excited for Phase 3 properly, and this book does it because it kind of ties into Phase 1, Phase 2, and it's like propelling you forward into Phase 3 and starting with more questions, which I liked. And I hope we get another Edge of Balance manga next year. One other thing about this that I really appreciated was that it felt like a really good complete story, whereas this, it felt kind of like parts 1 and 2 of it. I still want more in this universe, but this feels like they told the story they needed to tell in this manga. So I overall appreciated it. But I do have one complaint, which is so frustrating to have to talk about, is the artwork in here. The artwork in this manga is significantly worse than the artwork in these mangas. And I didn't particularly love the artwork here, but it is at least, like, it's legible. You can tell what's happening. The characters are very clear, and the lines are clear, and everything like that. And that's probably because of the style that Mizuki Sakakibara used. But the style used by Tomio Ogata here is just not great. It is very, everything gets blurred. It's very hard. Sometimes it's literally just the character outline in many of the frames. And even when there is a background, it looks so bland. At least here, it looked complex. The artwork was really beautiful to look at as you're reading. Here, the artwork, it looked like you were just rushing through. I feel like this book was rushed into development because they could have done so much more to detail to making it a visual feast. Because really, I'm reading The High Republic for the story, for the characters, for the literary aspects of it. I'm not reading it for the artwork. So my overall rating of the book, it'll be reflected on the literary value. However, since there's so little story in these books and they're so expensive, the cost has to be offset by the literature. It has to be offset by the artwork in there. The artwork has to be amazing to justify it, and unfortunately, the artwork just doesn't justify it here. So that was very frustrating. So that's my thoughts on the book. I would give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's better than the first two, but I still think it was held back mostly by the artwork. Just about everything else was handled properly. A little thing, there's some characters swear a couple times, and it just takes me out of the book. I don't like characters swearing in Star Wars. If you have to use a Star Wars made-up swear, maybe, but even then I don't like it. But there was too many real-world swears in here. So overall, that's what I thought of the book. 8 out of 10, still a very good book. If you've read Edge of Balance Precedent, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.